Hello and welcome to the Fans Edge podcast with your host Joe and the soon-to-be Vault Hunter of Helios, Tom.
Hi.
Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing alright. That's a throwback to when I was streaming pre-sequel Borderlands.
I was going to say, I don't think you've played that recently, have you?
No, I never finished it. Too much of a grind. No.
Oh, okay. I understand that. Well, look, we're here with the podcast today. Let's talk about the podcast.
Yes.
If this is your first time listening to Fans Edge, this is all about discussing our different fandoms from gaming to Star Wars and beyond that really as well. But sit with us for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we will ramble on about all the things that we love, try and bring you some news, and just have a grand old time in the process. So stick with us and I hope you enjoy it. Today we're going to be talking through the latest gaming releases. It is a staple to start off the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go through the Xbox business update. There's a couple of juicy little things in there. Some Star Wars news. There's a few things to talk about. Some early access games and the Disney and Epic Games collab that has recently been announced. Quite a few things there to talk about. But Tom, before we jump into that, tell me what you've been playing recently. Or watching.
I've been rotating 3 games. I've been playing World of Warships, and I've been playing Assetto Corsa and Assetto Corsa Competizione. So I've been sim racing and I've been on ships, essentially.
Yeah.
Watching, not much. Obviously, we both finished Percy Jackson, but that's probably the last thing I watched.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, personally, in terms of playing, I've gotten back into Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah,
I'm playing that a lot recently. Yeah. I've become addicted again. is where I'm at. The usual of Armour 3. That's standard. I run a unit. What do you expect?
Yeah.
And what else have I been playing? Oh, I've been playing Empire at War as well. That's been a lot of fun. Although I've had a bad time recently. I've lost the whole fleet. So that's going about as well as we'd expect.
That's recently come. I sent it to you the other day. Is it 15 years old? 10? Well,
that's it?
Yeah,
I missed that.
I swear I sent you the sort of tweet.
Yeah, it released in 2006.
Yeah.
16th of February. Wow. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, all right, I've forgotten about that. But yes, okay. Yeah, big year for Empire at War. But yeah, in terms of watching, as you say, Percy Jackson, absolutely loving that. I've also been watching and have finished, well, not finished. I've watched all of what's on Disney Plus of The Good Doctor.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So I've been watching that, but they've only got like the first 3 seasons.
That's with the autistic doctor, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, really enjoying that. I think there's another 3 seasons. I'm hoping they'll put them on Disney Plus soon, but I'm a bit stuck at the moment.
Just going back briefly to you playing the Old Republic, I still think the cinematics that BioWare made for those are the best ever created.
Far.
Watching those every few years or every year, I binge watch them all again because I'm like, they're so good.
Yeah,
and I just want them to make an entire film of it.
Yeah,
we need an Old Republic film. That's what we need.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully we'll get something in that vein with one of the movies that they were talking about. Was it a couple of years ago now?
Yeah.
Last year? Because it is that sort of that first Jedi film, so maybe it'll be. I mean, obviously a bit earlier than that, but that kind of period, that kind of era.
Yes.
But yeah, right. Look, we can ramble on about all the things we have done, but we've got topics to cover. Why don't you kick us off with some gaming releases?
Yeah, if you're new here, I'll be covering the vast majority of game releases. They might have already released by the time you're listening or watching to this on YouTube. But I'm going to go through what they are, what platform they're for, and a little bit of what it is. So to start us off on the 2nd of February, we have 3. We've got Persona 3 Reload for Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and that's a remake of the original from 2006 on the PS2. So that's going to be a remake for you. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I don't think that really needs an introduction. It's been a bit controversial, but it's released on Xbox, PlayStation and PC. Foam Stars, which is coming out on PlayStation, so the PlayStation 4 and 5, which is a 4v4 online party shooter, and you use foam to build terrain, building slippery surfaces to surf around the area at high speed and help defend from enemy attacks, or create vantage points to take out your opponents. It's basically Splatoon for PlayStation. That's what it is.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. Following on to the 8th of February, we've got Retrowave World. Well, this is PC early access on Steam, and it's an 80s racing action-adventure game with the neon kind of retro futuristic theme. And this is almost a sequel. Its previous game was Retrowave, which was just simply driving focused and endless highway. You know, that sort of 80s constant, just in front of you, sort of third person sort of games. I'm not sure if you know what I mean. That sort of highway thing where you're just behind the car and you just, it's like that. In fact, Retrowave has been on my wish list because I kind of think, I kind of like that sort of 80s sort of retro vibe, driving around down an endless highway. And also on the 8th of February, we have Helldivers 2 for PC and PlayStation, which is an action third-person shooter. It's gone third-person from a top-down, which was what Helldivers 1 was. And it's co-op up to 4 players, and you get to battle against alien threats in that. It's been very popular. It's kind of broken records. They've pulled a Payday 3 because there were so many people on their game that they've had to upgrade the servers, and they've had to restrict the capacity of how many people can get in. So they have pulled a Payday 3. It's blown up. So that's Helldivers 2 for you, for those interested. On the 12th of February, Banishers Ghost of New Eden. I believe I have mentioned this before, but it's going to be for PC, Xbox and PlayStation, which is a story-driven action RPG as you play as ghost hunters, or as they're called in this game, Banishers. On the 14th of Feb, we have had Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Now this is almost a sequel to the previous game of Deep Rock Galactic, and this is going to be in PC Early Access. This time it's not a first-person shooter, a co-op first-person shooter. This is going to be a single-player survivor-like auto shooter from the top down, take on hordes of lethal enemies and mine riches and unlock upgrades and all that good stuff. Finally, on 14th of February, we had the Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 Remastered. Now this is the old OG Tomb Raider, all on all platforms. So PlayStation, Xbox, PC and Switch. It's got upgraded graphics and performance enhancements, and complete with all expansions and secret levels all included. Then on 15th of February, we have Goat Simulator 3's Steam release after its Epic Games exclusivity. I don't think Goat Simulator needs an introduction. I think you know what it's all about. It's all about being silly, being a goat.
What more do you need?
I remember when they did a Payday 2 collaboration. There was a heist for Payday 2, and they had the heist was basically transporting the goats, because the goats had drugs inside of them, and it was taking them from I think it was a cargo lorry, then putting them into a car, then it was quite fun.
Okay.
Okay. 16th of February, we've got Mario vs. Donkey Kong for the Switch, obviously, because what other platform would it be on? And this is another remake of the 2004 puzzle platform game. On the 16th of February, finally, Skull and Bones is released. PC, Xbox and PlayStation. It's a third-person ship-focused pirate game. Kind of think Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It's got reputation levels and upgrades and missions and all that kind of stuff. It's been in production since 2017, I want to say. It's probably the most delayed game I've ever seen ever. It's get delays and delayed and delayed. there's games that get delayed years, but then there's Skull and Bones that gets delayed numerous times over a period of time, and I think that takes the hat for that.
That's almost a decade that's been in development.
Yeah, and it's not been that well received.
Wow.
I played the closed beta. There wasn't a recent open beta. I played the closed beta. I must admit, it was fun. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't go ahead and buy it. But it had the sort of elements of pirate ship sort of stuff that would be inspired from AC Black Flag, and I think honestly, Sea of Thieves was inspired by AC Black Flag anyway. Just Ubisoft wanted to do them. I mean, everyone's asked. Anyone that's played Black Flag would agree. Oh, we've wanted this for years, but it's probably not the same, unfortunately. Right. Yeah. On the 20th of February, this is one I'm interested in. Le Mans Ultimate for PC Early Access is the official game of the FIA World Endurance Championship and the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which includes 12 cars, 7 tracks, which includes Hypercar, LMP2, and GTE. So if you're a sim racer like me, and you like your endurance cars, because they look absolutely sexy, yeah, that's coming out on 20th of February by Studio 397.
I've already made this joke at you, but how can it have 7 tracks? It's Le Mans. You've got 1 track.
I know it's a joke, but it's the World Endurance Championship and the 24 Hours of Le Mans, but they've called it Le Mans Ultimate.
Well, then it should be World Endurance Championship Ultimate, not Le Mans Ultimate, because you've got more than just Le Mans. Disappointing.
Look, take it up with Studio 397, not me.
Studio 3, I find this unacceptable.
Studio 397, come on.
Alright, Studio 397. Whatever your name is, I'm disappointed in your game, alright? I haven't got a rant today, so this is my rant.
Oh dear. Anyway, I'm excited for it. It looks very, very good. Very good. I'm looking forward to it. There's another game I'm interested in, and that's next, 22nd of February. Pacific Drive for PC and PlayStation. This is a first-person driving survival game with your car as your companion. It's got a surreal reimagining of the Pacific Northwest, and you face supernatural dangers as you venture into the Olympic exclusion zone. There is a demo on Steam if you want to have a go at it, because it's pretty damn good. I've had a go at it. I like it. I think it's one of the games where I'm thinking this should be a film or TV series, because I do think it should be.
Okay.
I just got that vibe from it. I could see myself, watching it based on the game. That'd be very cool. On the 28th of February, we've got Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons remake, which is a single-player or co-op action-adventure game, basically like a Way Out. And then we've got a Star Wars game, believe it or not. We've got Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster.
Oh.
And that came out in 1995.
It's as old as me.
And that's coming out on all platforms again, so PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. And it's using the Kex engine. It's allowing the game to run on modern gaming devices up to 4K resolution at 120 FPS. It's got upgraded gameplay, high-resolution textures, enhanced lighting and rendering, and support for gamepads. As I said, it's from 95. I think that's the longest remaster we've seen. When was the original Tomb Raider? I can't actually remember. That was a long time ago as well.
That surprises me. I didn't know that was coming.
Yeah. So that's coming very, very soon. On the 29th of February, we have Robin Hood Sherwood Builders on PC. That's going to be an action-adventure RPG with base building elements. I was quite interested in that. Probably, I'm not going to buy it day one. I'll see how it goes. And finally, on the 29th of February, is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for the PlayStation. And that concludes the game releases for February 2024. Now, I have a topic to discuss.
A topic?
A topic.
Okay.
This is quite a big one, because we're going to be talking about the Xbox Business Update. So, if you are unaware, we had, the internet exploded in arms because there were rumours of Xbox bringing first-party exclusives to PlayStation. And the names that were brought around were Starfield and the new, yet-to-be-released Indiana Jones game. So Phil Spencer addressed these rumours with a tweet shortly after, saying, "We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week, where we look forward to sharing more detailed review about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned." And that Xbox business update was the official Xbox video podcast. Look at us, a podcast promoting a podcast. And that went live on the 15th of February, which was a Thursday. And I had a cheeky look. So the main points to take away from this was they confirmed that 4 games were going to be coming to the other consoles. There were no names. As they said, the devs themselves have announced plans, and they didn't want to ruin that, which is fair enough. Yeah. What he did say was Starfield and Indiana Jones is not within these 4 games, which debunked all these rumours that all the journalists and Twitter keyboard warriors were going on about for the last however long. So, all these rumours kind of got people up in arms for basically nothing. And I suppose a rumour is a rumour, I suppose.
Yeah.
An interesting thing that Phil Spencer did say during that was that he thinks that exclusivity is going to get smaller over the next 5 to 10 years in gaming. Smaller and smaller, which I kind of see, because, we're starting to see it now, aren't we? Really. Multi-platform seems to be the way to go.
I'm in two minds about this, because on one side of the fence, I see... my view on it is that, well, if you get rid of exclusivity, from a business standpoint, you're getting rid of some of the reasons that convince people to buy your console over whatever consoles are out there. It is a selling point. There's no getting around it. That is just a business strategy. And with Xbox saying, "Oh, well, we'll get some of our exclusives onto other platforms," well, that's great. But why would other people or other companies do that? Why is Sony going to turn around and go, "Oh, do you know what? Fine, we'll give away some of our PlayStation exclusives and let everyone else play them"? It doesn't make a lot of business sense. But the flip side to that argument, which I also kind of see, was we once thought the same about cross-platform play. At one point, not even that long ago, a few years back, if you'd said to someone about cross-platform, that was a pipe dream. Yeah. If you thought about you playing on your Xbox with someone on their PlayStation, you were dreaming. But now, it seems to be the done thing. A few people started that trend off, and it seems to have caught on. Maybe it could be the same with the exclusivity idea. Maybe it will be that it's more the console that sells itself rather than the exclusive games. But yeah, I don't know. At the moment, I think I'm still in the camp of, I guess, like I was at the time with cross-platform play. Getting rid of your game exclusives on your console is an odd choice. I don't see it myself, but
it's not going to completely go away. It's definitely going to get smaller, as kind of what he kind of said, which I kind of get. Because he also said something else. He kind of said along the lines of, in the era of Xbox One or 360, the consoles kind of led the sort of were leading the sort of sales, but now it's the games that lead the sales. It's flipped itself on its head now. Rather than people purposely getting a console, it's people getting a console because of a game. And it's more games driven than anything else. As we know, Xbox is kind of marketing has always been this. They don't mind if other people have their stuff on other platforms, as long as you can get to play their games whatever way that you want, they'll be happy, because we saw that obviously because of the integration with PC when they moved all their games over to PC.
I don't know, I see that as a different thing, because that's still Microsoft.
Yeah.
They're still controlling, because whether you buy an Xbox or you buy a PC, some of that revenue still goes through to Microsoft because you're still using their software, and then you buy a game to run on their software. So either way, it's still staying within, if you like, their ecosystem.
Yeah.
I don't see the same as... I don't see it the same if they're putting their games on PlayStation as well. That, like I say, I could be wrong. In the next few years, it might totally change, but
yeah,
it still seems very odd to me. But sorry, you've got more to talk about on this. I'm getting stuck on the point.
Yeah. So obviously that was kind of one small element. What they did expand on these 4 sort of exclusives that we're going to go through. Mm-hmm. So they mentioned the criteria for the games coming to other platforms, which was kind of 3. So they looked at games that were going to be more than a year old. 2 of them were going to be what they phrase as community driven, so a community driven game. And the other 2 are going to be smaller games that weren't built for platform exclusivity. The reasoning behind all this was to get the brand value for bringing games to other consoles, to get them interested into Xbox. Which I do understand, and I suppose it means more people are playing the game, but yeah, I think that criteria is fair enough. You know, more than a year old, community driven, games that either weren't built for exclusivity or they're community driven, you know. I'd say that's fair enough. There's been some more rumours circling around, people talking about, I think it was Sea of Thieves, one of them that was circling around, which, do you know what? I think that's perfectly okay to go to PlayStation. It's been incredibly successful.
Yeah.
And I can see that being one of the games being the community-driven one, but also I see it where it wouldn't be built for platform exclusivity. Because this is Rare we're talking about. I mean, when you think Rare, do you think it's an Xbox exclusive game studio? I don't necessarily think so, but that might be just me.
No, I mean, in all fairness, I think the only studio or developer that I think of as Xbox exclusive is 343. But I only think that because of Halo. Obviously, they're the developers behind Halo, for anyone that's not familiar. Begs the question what rock you've been living under, but regardless. I mean, to be fair, when Bungie owned Halo, I thought the same of Bungie. I thought of them as an Xbox exclusive studio. But that's more because I think that's more because I associate Halo with that, rather than thinking of it specifically in terms of the developer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting point. I mean, there are some fair points there in the criteria. I do think the brand value argument is maybe a bit of a backwards argument, but again, that goes back to the point I was making before. I'm just trying to think of what games it could be.
There were like 4 games that there was rumoured along with CVs. I'm just trying to think of them. I think one of them was Hi-Fi Rush, which is that music game, the rhythm-based game.
Okay.
Grounded as well, which is the basically Honey, You Shrunk the Kids sort of game. And then Enshrouded, I think. I'm not familiar with Enshrouded, but yeah, I think that might be it. I don't think that the likes of Gears of War would go. I don't think Flight Simulator would go. I don't think Halo would go. And I most certainly think that Forza is most definitely not going to go. They are too precious to Xbox to let go.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Halo, now that they've put that on PC, I definitely think it'd be a very odd choice to then put that out on PlayStation as well. I think they cover enough of the market with Xbox and PC.
Yeah.
Gears, I mean, is there another Gears in the works at the moment?
There's been rumours here and there of a new Gears being worked on, but we haven't had anything concrete as of yet.
I was going to say, I think the last Gears
probably a while ago.
Yeah, as you said, the last Gears was a few years back now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess they could put the older games over, but yeah, I think you're right. It's probably one that they will keep.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think Forza's probably the same as what I was saying about Halo. That's on PC now as well, isn't it?
Because, I mean, why would they bring Forza to PlayStation when they've got Gran Turismo?
Exactly. That was going to be my second argument. They're not going to compete.
And
with
considering the
Gran Turismo.
backlash that Forza Motorsport has at the moment, it's, yeah. I think PlayStation...
Yeah, they
no,
wouldn't get
thank
the
you.
sales.
Yeah, we'll miss on that, thank you.
Yeah, they just wouldn't get the sales. It would be a odd choice.
I mean, Flight Simulator could be a possibility, but I still think that now more of an Xbox thing than anything else. We didn't used to think that with Flight Simulator, but then again, it used to be called Microsoft's Flight Simulator. I mean, my first Flight Simulator was Microsoft Flight Simulator 2002, you know, and then we had it progressed, and then it became FSX, and then it became,
Isn't it still Microsoft Flight Sim?
It technically is, yeah, I think. I'm not quite sure, but obviously the early games were. But to me, it's not something that you would associate with Xbox ultimately. But I think now you would associate Flight Simulator with Xbox a bit more than you'd normally do.
Yeah, to be fair, I think with Flight Sim, I've always associated it with PC more than Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think that's just been my exposure to it.
Well, I think most sim games. I think
games.
most sim games are like that, aren't they? Because most simulator games, you think, well, they must be go on PC, and Flight Simulator didn't used to be always on Xbox until they did the new Flight Simulator, because they made it to work on a controller. Which, you know what? Hats off to them, because a simulator with so many controls to make it on an Xbox gamepad with limited amount of buttons and functions that you can utilize. I think that's great.
It's very clever.
Yeah,
very, very clever. I do take
it's the same with how it was a backup studio. It wasn't Colossal Order that did the console port for City Skylines as well. You think of a city builder like that. Yeah, it works perfectly on PC, but on a console, a little bit more, I would say, challenging to put on a console. Yeah. The last sort of points that Phil Spencer and the likes of Sarah Bond and all that kind of mentioned was, first of all, Activision Blizzard games will be coming to Xbox Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 from March 28th. So anything Activision Blizzard is going to be coming on Game Pass. So we might probably going to be seeing the likes of Overwatch, the likes of Call of Duty, all on Game Pass, which I would see as even more value than Game Pass has right now. Because think about how big Call of Duty is.
Yeah, you're right.
And you can, if you can play all the Call of Duties or whatever ones they're going to put on. We don't know if they're going to put latest releases on there or not. They might do, now that they've obviously acquired that.
I guess it depends on what kind of deal they've got with Activision for that.
But if you think about it, it means, we're not going to be spending full price on this game. Like, you can spend maybe maybe a tenner a month or less than that, and you get to play everything.
Very true.
I think they also shared about their Game Pass users. I can't remember the number, I didn't write it down, but it was a huge increase of how many total players that they've had. So it's still incredibly popular and incredibly valuable to Xbox itself, which is good to see. And then they mentioned something about hardware, because I think you might have heard that people have been saying, Xbox is exiting doing consoles, they're not going to be doing it anymore. I also heard some news that the Microsoft Surface team were going to be working on something of new hardware. Obviously, that was all a rumour that I read a few weeks ago, which was interesting.
Okay.
But what they shared was they're gonna be sharing some hardware news in summer. I'm assuming the June showcase, and they're going to be delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation. That is a quote unquote of what Sarah Bond said on that podcast. The largest technical leap you'll ever see in a hardware generation. That definitely indicates next gen is probably coming, or at least being announced in the June showcase this year.
I find that very interesting.
It has been a few years, but I thought maybe this generation might last a little bit longer, but we'll see.
Well, yeah. I mean, not even on the time scale, but when you think about the supply issues that they had at the launch, both the PlayStation and Xbox, this is not exclusive to one or the other, but with the supply issues that they had, the very high prices still, and the fact that usually we get a, should we say, partial upgrade mid-generation?
Yeah.
Which we don't seem to have had.
Like, I think of recent years, we're definitely moving away from this kind of every 5 years we get a new console. I think both PlayStation and Xbox are trying to extend the life cycle of a console as far as they can until they have to do a new hardware upgrade. But can you imagine if they somehow pull off this new hardware generation, get to pull off usually someone compares the console to a low-end PC, don't we?
Yeah.
What if they could up that to a medium budget PC for the same price? Could you imagine if they pulled that off?
Thing is, I'm just thinking of cost.
Yeah, it would either. I mean, that's what I mean. If they can get the value to ratio right, I mean.
Yeah, but this is my problem, I guess, is that, yeah, it'd be great if they can pack all that into a console, because that's really going to put consoles on par with PCs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've been looking at picking up an Xbox One.
One?
Xbox One. Xbox Series X. I know what I meant. I've been looking at picking one of these up, basically since they've come out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, looking at them new, they're still like 430 quid.
Yeah, I think... I mean,
don't have that kind of money to spare, so I keep putting it off, and I keep looking for like refurbished ones, second-hand ones, trying to find a way to get them cheaper, because I just can't afford at the moment, joys of adulting, to get one brand spanking new.
Yeah.
If they're going to improve the consoles, I mean, if we're already at 430 and they're going to make a massive upgrade, bear in mind it's not come down in price since it come out. So let's say they do bring a new one out. This is still at full price. All right, it might get discounted now because a new console comes out. But the new console is going to be more than 430 quid.
Yeah, probably.
You know, because they're only going to discount that to sell off the old stock of whatever they've got made up.
Yeah.
The new one is going to be more than that. So what are we talking? 500, 600, 700 quid? Who's got 700 quid to drop on a console?
Yeah.
I think this is actually this is a bit of a concern of mine. They're going to start pricing people out of the market.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, certainly when I was younger, we couldn't afford to spend that much on a console. You know, if you've got to save up pocket money or whatever, you've got to do some odd jobs to earn a bit of cash. No way you're getting a console.
Yeah, I mean, that's just me thinking out loud, you know, to that quote of the largest technical leap. That's the thing I instantly think.
Yeah,
are they upping the specs somehow?
Well, it would have to be. What else is going to be a technical leap? It's going to have to be.
Yeah.
And if they're saying in a hardware generation as well, as I can see you've quoted on our notes.
Yeah.
That's going to have to be technology. It's going to have to be. It's just, I worry it's going to price people out. It's going to make the barrier of entry to gaming too high for many people. I mean,
well, they've sort of done that with the Xbox Series X, but you also have the lower version with the Series S, and I think that's why they've done it. So you can still have an Xbox, it's just not as powerful, and then here's the upper, more supreme version.
I don't like that either. I think PlayStation is better with this, although they're still a little bit cheeky. I'll come back to that though.
Yeah.
The Xbox Series S doesn't have the disc drive. So you are bound to buying full price games from Microsoft directly, because you can only download it to your console.
Yeah, unless you find a key site that has a key for it, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess that could work. But again, you're still going to be paying near full price, or you're going to be waiting forever to get games.
Yeah.
The benefit of having a disc drive, which has always been a benefit, is you go and pick one up second hand. You go and pick up a pre-owned game. It's a hell of a lot cheaper. And again, certainly for lower income families, it's a much more manageable way. Yeah, you might have to wait a little bit to play some games. But, I mean, I certainly know people that went out, bought games, completed it within a week of it being out, and then went and traded it in.
Yeah.
Because they went, well, I've done it now. I'm not interested anymore. I want to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Alright, it's still close to the start of the release cycle, so it's still going to be quite high, but it's a little bit cheaper than buying a brand new game. This helps people out. This helps families out.
Yeah.
Again, I think it comes in. This is why I think PlayStation does this a little bit better, because you can buy their cheaper version of their console, which doesn't come with a disc drive, but you can buy the disc drive separately.
Ah.
So if, say, in 6 months or a year's time, you go, do you know what? I've been enjoying this. I've spent enough money on the PlayStation Store, but now I want to be able to buy some second-hand games. You can do that. You change the faceplate, put the new one on, you've got disc drive. That's the benefit, I think, over the Xbox here, and I think they're a little bit better. But I was doing some costs on this, a few months ago now. The PlayStation works out more if you buy the disc drive separately.
Yeah, I thought it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, if you buy it with the disc drive to start with, I can't remember how much it was now, but it's like 30-40 quid cheaper than buying one without and then buying the disc drive later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my issue with this. I know a lot of talk at the moment within the industry is they want us to move towards a more digital world.
Yeah.
But as I say, I think that poses a problem for a lot of people. And the cost difference between disc drive or no disc drive, which seems to be the option between two consoles, is just So I could rant about this all day. Maybe this is just a ranty one for me today.
Yeah. Regardless, we're gonna see what they unveil in June, because there's also been some other rumors of potentially is Xbox going to bring out a handheld or something, or we're gonna have to wait and see to the June showcase. Which I'm gonna make a small prediction.
All right.
For June showcase, because I think we're getting Forza Horizon 6 this year. And the reason why I say we're getting Forza Horizon 6 this year is if you look at the development time cycle from Forza Horizon 5 was 3 years. This year would be 3 years since Forza Horizon 5 came out. So I'm thinking Playground Games have the same development cycle, because Forza Horizon 5 did incredibly well. Because previously it was 2 years. Every 2 years we got Forza Horizon. In fact, when it was regular Forza Motorsport, 1 year you got Forza Motorsport, the next year you got Forza Horizon, and then obviously that changed with them developing Forza Motorsport over 6 years. But
they
now,
used to also it though, didn't they?
But yeah, the last Forza Horizon was 3 years. So I'm thinking we're gonna get it, because it was shadow announced I remember I was watching it when I was having food, and I was so shocked to think, Forza Horizon 5? What? Oh my god, I'm excited! Yes! So I think they're gonna do the same come June showcase. Hopefully.
Okay.
And everyone's hoping for Japan. Everyone's been hoping for Japan settings since Forza Horizon 2. Let's be
Okay.
honest. Yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping we're going to get a new
That
Forza
could
Horizon.
be
That'd
that
cool.
could be really interesting, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would be interested in that.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Right, do you wanna talk about Star Wars now?
I always want to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm always here for some Star Wars chat, but yeah, we've actually got some points to cover today. So there's this year is quite a big year for Star Wars. There's a few anniversaries, and there's been a few things that have come out sort of in between all this that I thought it would be worth us touching on. So we'll start with probably the most fun of these anniversaries. This year marks 25 years of Lego Star Wars. Now, we all know the Lego Star Wars games. I'm sure we've all had Lego Star Wars sets. I have many of them. You can see probably just at the top there is a ATT behind me. Above that there's also a Venator Star Destroyer. I love some Lego Star Wars. I absolutely love it. Just going to show as well, I've got a little Lego Ahsoka sitting on my desk. Yeah. Right. I love a bit of Lego Star Wars, so this is a big one for me.
I've got a confession to make.
What?
I don't own any Lego Star Wars sets. I've just owned the games.
What?
I'm sorry.
Right, Tom, our friendship is on very shaky ground. And I'm going to have to send you some. You're going to have something Lego Star Wars.
The thing is, I've wanted stuff, but I've just never gone on bought it. I want the display helmets that you have.
Tom,
Yeah.
the battle droid says, it's not focusing, this is frustrating. The battle droid says, get some Lego Star Wars.
Yes, all right. Roger.
That's the right answer, well done.
Yes.
Anyways, right, before this becomes my third rant of the night, please. Bloody hour in and I'm already 2 rants down. Yes, Lego Star Wars celebrating 25 years of sort of the Star Wars brand partnering with Lego. They've announced some anniversary sets to sort of commemorate the year. There's some unique models that they're releasing as well. So I think they're minifigures with the sets. One of which I'm very excited about, is Fives.
Oh yeah.
I want Fives. I'm buying that set. 100%.
I think I showed you it and you got really excited. You were like, "Oh, Fives, yay!"
Yeah. I have to own Fives. He's gonna go with my clone troopers up there with me, ATT. The other one that they've announced is Darth Malak. There's another 3, I think, that are coming, but we don't know what they are yet. They're just silhouettes on the website.
Yeah.
But yeah, very exciting. As I say, you're getting some special commemorative sets. You'll get these unique character or minifigures with these sets. So very exciting. I'm very excited to see what else they announce. But I love a celebration.
I'm hoping for a Lego Star Wars remaster of some sort.
Oh yeah.
Probably won't happen, but I can be hopeful because it's 25 years of Lego Star Wars. Surely they're going to do something Lego Star Wars game related. Come on, TT. I'm going to poke you with a stick. Do something.
Well, you'd hope so. I mean, the commemorative sets, I think, are bringing back some remodeled versions of older sets. So that would be nice to see. And yeah, I think you're right. I think to have a Lego Star Wars game this year would make a lot of sense. I don't know what they would do. I mean, I know you said about a remaster there, but they've kind of not necessarily done a remaster, but they've retold that story through Lego already. Because the latest one was
everything.
The Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
So would it make sense for them to do, I guess what would make the most sense in terms of a remaster would be the first Lego Star Wars, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But would it make sense to do that when you've already got relatively recently? Because it's only the last few years that came out.
To be fair, a remaster is just the same game, but it's just touched up a bit more. It's not like a full remake. per se.
Yeah.
And it will have that nostalgia factor, particularly for me. The original Lego Star Wars game was my first ever video game that I ever owned on a console, on my Game Boy Advance SP. First console, first game. That was my first one. I still have the original box that the cartridge came in. And I have the little instruction booklet as well. Get a flick through, yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's brilliant. I mean, look, maybe it will have a lot of nostalgia for people. I don't see it myself, but then I don't always see the benefit of remasters.
I mean, I suppose one benefit of a remaster would technically be the people that didn't get to play it at the time get to play it almost exactly the way that people played it at the time, but almost with a more repolish, but on more modern machines or current machines.
Almost a modern filter on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess that's true.
I think because I don't know if you've played some of the Doom games. There's literally a button that you can press, or a setting that you can change that changes the modern Doom games to the classic old school Doom thing. And apparently you can do it with I mentioned this in the game releases segment. Obviously Tomb Raider 1 to 3, the OG remastered is coming out. And apparently you can press of a button, it can go to the old school graphics and switch back to the more remastered stuff that they've done. Okay. I mean, I guess that's also what they did with Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary and Halo 2 Anniversary. Oh yeah, that's where I remember it from. Yes, because I'd never played Halo in my life, and someone a few years, I think a year or two ago, gifted me Master Chief Collection on PC. I found out that feature. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, I can rotate through them. Yeah.
I don't remember there being a game before Combat Evolved Anniversary that did that.
Yeah.
So I think they sort of brought in the idea of, do you know what I mean? You can play the nostalgia fest of old graphics, or you can relive the stories that you loved in modern day graphics, or a refresh on it. I guess there's arguments for and against. Personally, I'd like to see something new, but I can see the arguments for remasters. And yeah, I get what you're saying. Certainly in terms of bringing it to a new generation, letting them relive those classic games that obviously we love. Definitely. There's some merit to that, definitely. The next note, which I see you've put on here, I wasn't aware of this, so I'm going to refer to you here. But 2 new Star Wars movies in 2026.
Yep. It's going to be one in May 22nd and one in December 18th. There's no actual confirmation on what they're going to be, but we can hazard a guess that one of them is going to be Daisy Ridley's film. If you remember.
Yes, that was one of the 3 that they announced at the Celebration weekend.
Because why?
Which is going to be her new Jedi Order.
I mean, you could guess the other one is the Grogu and Mandalorian film. Boom. They are the 2 coming out, but that's speculation. No, wait, sorry, that would be the Grogu one. That's the one they've just talked about, isn't it? They are planning to start production this year. That timeline makes sense. They do production this year, and at the end of 2024 and start of 2020. No, they do production 2024. And then they've got an entire year of editing to do, or post-production. And then comes out in 2026. That makes sense, relatively.
Yeah, no, you're right. The timeline tracks. It depends on where they are in terms of writing as well.
Yeah,
some of that could be
because
writing
it might
time
change as well, and production might get pushed back and stuff.
Yeah. That's possible.
And particularly with timings, because I don't know if you know, Pedro Pascal, if he is going to continue doing Mandalorian, obviously we've heard stuff that he might not be and all this kind of stuff, but he's been cast as one of the Fantastic Four in the new Marvel film. So there might be a certain clash, or they've already established that and they're like, well, we're going to put it in 2026. But regardless, we are a couple of years away from a new Star Wars film, which is exciting.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned about the Fantastic Four. That's a good point, because they could be working it around that schedule. Because let's be honest, if they're going hard into he's not going to remove his helmet anymore, which is fine. Like, if that's the way they're going to play the character, that's the way they want to play the character.
Yeah.
But then if he's not going to do the actual physical side, they can do all the filming and then get him in for voiceover work.
Yeah.
Get him to record his voice lines after he's done with Fantastic Four, and then they just got to cut it over. That's what they did with Darth Vader in the original trilogy. It was I can't remember his name, but it was a tall Scottish bloke playing him physically on screen.
Yeah.
And then they got Billy D. No, is it Billy D. Williams?
I don't know. I can't remember.
But they got him in afterwards to record the voice lines, and then they pasted that over the top because they didn't like the idea of him sounding Scottish. Didn't think it fit the character. And to be fair, I'm glad they changed it. The Vader we got is fantastic, and we obviously all love that. But that's how they did it then. I can see them doing the same thing with Mando, definitely.
You meant James Earl Jones, didn't you?
Yes. Who was I thinking of?
I think you mixed up James Earl Jones with the guy that does the clones. What's he called?
No, that's D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah.
Who's Billy D. Williams? Was Billy Lando?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, he was. Billy something.
I get names confused. I'm sorry.
You kind of moulded two together, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Unintentional. I'm bad with names. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I can see that. I'd forgotten about the Daisy Ridley film, but that does actually make a lot of sense, because I know they're starting on that at the moment as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of all ties up. I can see those. I realise they're rumours. So again, listeners, watchers, take that with a pinch of salt. But that kind of tracks. I can see that. The next one is an interesting point. There are some reports, talking of the films that were announced at Celebration, there are some reports that the Acolyte may be coming out this summer.
Yeah, we don't have much information on that. That's it, really.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to touch on it because it's an interesting point, because I've not really heard much about the Acolyte. I saw them talking about it at Celebration.
Yeah, I was going to say,
they brought out some of the actors and stuff.
They talked about it then. Yeah.
But then I've not seen any promotional material. I've not seen any interviews or anything.
Ah, well, that's what May Force for.
Oh. Well, yeah. But do you know what I mean? Like, you'd expect to hear a little bit more about it building up towards it, and I've not heard anything. I'd actually forgotten about it. I mean, I'm excited because from hearing them talking at Celebration whilst I was there, it did sound really interesting. And talking about their characters, it got me interested in them. But as I say, because I've not heard anything since, it kind of has left my mind a little bit.
Skeleton Crew's meant to be coming out this year as well.
That's another one I'd forgotten about.
With Jude Law. I think we know a bit more about the Skeleton Crew than we do about Acolyte.
Didn't they talk about cancelling that at one point?
I don't know.
Or was that? Oh no, that might have been Rogue Squadron actually.
Yeah, I think Rogue Squadron's in the bin.
Yeah, I know they binned one of them.
Which is a shame, because that was the one I was probably looking forward to the most.
It certainly was an interesting concept. I don't know where it ranked on my list of excitement for Star Wars projects, but
yeah,
I'm always here for new Star Wars content. Always. Yeah, okay, so next point, because there's not really much else we can discuss on that. It's just a rumour. I'd like to see it, but yeah. Next point is, in terms of anniversaries, this is also the 25th anniversary of Star Wars The Phantom Menace. Now, I know that Phantom Menace does not rank highly in a lot of people's Star Wars lists. In fact, I think for a lot of people it's still ranked quite lowly. However, this did kick off the prequel trilogy. We did get Obi-Wan Kenobi, Space Jesus. We did get Qui-Gon Jinn, who I think is probably one of my favourite
And
Jedi.
without the prequels, we wouldn't have Hello There.
Yes, not where I was going, but sure.
General Kenobi. Yes.
Without the prequels, we wouldn't have the clones.
And without the prequels, we wouldn't have the most badass lightsaber duel that's ever seen the TV screen or film screen.
Very true. Very
Yes.
true. So yeah, it's however you feel about it. I feel like it is a big thing for Star Wars. It brought us to the prequels. It started off that whole trilogy, which certainly for us, Tom, was our generation, wasn't it? It's what we grew up on. Obviously, we love the originals, but that was kind of, I don't know about you, but certainly for me, that was what introduced me to Star Wars.
See, what introduced me to Star Wars was actually what I mentioned earlier. The Star Wars Lego Star Wars game was my first sort of Star Wars thing, and then I watched the first original films because back then the first three films, obviously New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, would always rotate on the television at Christmas time or something. I don't know if you remember. Years ago, they used to rotate Star Wars films, and they always used to leave out Revenge of the Sith. So I watched every single one apart from Revenge of the Sith for so long, and then eventually they put on Revenge of the Sith. I was like, yes, I finally get to watch Revenge of the Sith. And it's probably become my favourite, coincidentally.
Probably because you've seen it the least.
Maybe, but I don't know, Revenge of the Sith just puts everything almost together.
Yeah,
to then
that's the point.
Bring into A New Hope.
I mean, this is why they're broken up into trilogies, because they're told as a story over 3 movies. Yeah, totally right. But yes, in terms of that celebration, that 25th anniversary, quarter of a century, my God. It is returning to cinema for the May the 4th weekend. So if you are interested, if you'd like to relive that experience, or if you are maybe a little bit newer to Star Wars, maybe you're one of our younger watchers or listeners, go and watch it May the 4th weekend. Get involved.
I've just realised
the excitement of the prequel trilogy.
These 25th anniversary is the same age as me for a few months, and then I become 26.
How does that make you feel, Tom?
Old.
Yeah, me too. Me too. There may be some of our listeners that are a bit like you young whippersnappers, but no, I makes you feel old. Moving on, because we don't want to dwell on that. That's sad. The next thing that has come out this year, actually, I think it came out. No, wait, I don't know if it is out. The announcement came out earlier this month.
It's very recent, yeah. It's recent
there is
news.
a special edition of Empire magazine. Now, Tom, you might know better than me that is linked to the chain of cinemas, isn't it?
I'm not sure. All I know is it's a magazine that's, I think, mainly to do with film, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So they report on film. They report on developments in film, maybe television. I've never actually picked one up. Neither have I, but I've seen it on a magazine stall in like a supermarket and stuff.
You've got new interviews with some of the major actors from the prequel trilogy, and I've not seen it myself, but I've seen a lot of things talking about how they, reflect on playing those characters, what kind of impact that had on their career, how they felt at the time. I don't know about you. For me, I find that really interesting. I had, when I was younger, I had an interest in going into that industry. So I find that all quite interesting, seeing behind the scenes. So I'm probably going to try and pick up one of those if I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love celebrations of things. It's nice to occasionally look back on and enjoy those things that were formative to X, Y, and Z, in this case to Star Wars. But yeah, so I think that's going to be an interesting one. It's nice to see them reflect back on it after so long. I mean, it's less than 25 years, because obviously they've done 3 films in that time, but to see them reflect back on it, that would be quite cool. I'd be interested to have a little read of that.
And because of that, Empire Magazine interviews comes our next point. This is where this comes from.
Yes. This one excites me, and this is one that certainly people in the Star Wars community have been asking for a very long time. Samuel L. Jackson has said that he wants his own TV series based around Mace Windu. And I think what he said was he feels that Mace isn't dead.
This can open an entire can of worms itself in the Star Wars community.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we should go into today, but...
No, but I love Mace Windu as a character. I think he's very cool. I'd like to explore that character more, even if it was more of a prequel. You know, sort of an earlier story for Mace Windu, maybe on how he became, you know, the battle master of the Jedi Council, the greatest swordsman within the Jedi Order. Something like that would be quite cool. You know, he developed a whole new lightsaber form. Maybe it could be exploring that because it draws on the dark side. There are cool stories there that I'd love to see explored. And I'd love Samuel L. Jackson to come back. Obviously, an older Mace would make sense because he himself is older now.
And maybe we can have some lore on the purple lightsaber instead of people saying it's because Samuel L. Jackson asked for one.
I mean, it is because he asked for one.
Yeah, I know.
But yes, it would be cool to see an in-universe explanation for that, because I don't think there really is one, is there?
No, not really.
I mean, we can assume, and I think there might have been stuff in the old Legends stuff now. But yeah, there's nothing that's really concrete that confirms it, or not that I'm aware of anyway. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I'd love to see Samuel L. Jackson come back. I think he's a brilliant actor. So I'd definitely be interested to see more from him, more of him playing Mace Windu. I mean, I'd love to see him in Star Wars. He loves Star Wars. He loves the character. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Disney, bring him back in. And then finally, there are rumours on Respawn's Mandalorian game. But Tom, you wanted to talk about this one.
Yes, so we know about Respawn. They make Apex Legends. They've made the greatest FPS story-driven game of all time, Titanfall 2. If you haven't played Titanfall 2, why not? Where have you been? It's also been recently £3 on Steam on sale, so pick it up and play it, please. You will be heartbroken. However, it is the greatest FPS ever made. One of my friends is going to be very, very pleased that I've said this on the podcast, because he breathes and lives in Titanfall 2 of saying it's the best ever. For a while we've known Respawn have been working on a Star Wars game. We just didn't know what sort of Star Wars game it was going to be, but now we have some rumours of a Mandalorian game. But remember, this is Respawn, so it's going to be in first person, and if you listen to last month's podcast, we know exactly what Joe thinks of a story-based game in first person. So we're going to have a repeat of that rant, probably again.
Don't get me started, Tom. We don't need rant number 3.
Some people online have said, first person for a Mandalorian game, half of the point is to admire the armor, which I do get the point on. But if the studio's talent is strongest on that type of game, I don't have a problem with it. It's just like Indiana Jones. The Indiana Jones games, they were famous for FPS. Joe's bubble's gonna burst if I don't let him speak.
I don't want to interrupt you. I feel very rude, but I'm just going to lean into the microphone because I want everyone to understand very bleeping clearly. We've talked about Halo. We have the Master Chief. The Master Chief is played in first person for pretty much the entire damn game. We don't see his armour except in the cutscenes. We don't need to be in third person. You can play first person. You can have a fantastic character. Master Chief, one of the best characters in gaming. Fantastic game series. And
maybe I shouldn't have let him speak.
it's right, Tom. I've got it out of my system. It's fine.
Yeah, it's early stages of development.
Anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
So you
Right,
don't like the Paramount TV series then, no?
Oh, don't get me started on that. That's another rant. That's next month's rant. That is.
Yeah, we got some light details. The game has high mobility. And he's got his jetpack. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Oh.
So the player will be able to perform horizontal dashing, vertical jumping, boost sliding.
Oh, beautiful.
Somewhat similar to sliding down hills in Apex Legends, we assume, because obviously that's the game that they make. It's going to be very fast-paced, and it will reward players who play in this style. For example, the player's health will mainly regenerate based on successive kills.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
For a Mandalorian game, they are a warrior culture. Like, yeah, encourage the combat. Definitely. I like that.
And it was teased that potentially we might be getting things like his wrist rocket, grapple hook, visor for tagging enemies and bounties and more stuff. So I think a Mandalorian game is definitely needed because of the entire hype of the TV series. It's definitely needed. It's definitely wanted. Considering the, dare I say it, the cancellation of 1313. Yeah, people have been wanting a Mandalorian type. Sorry, I've reopened an old wound in every single Star Wars fan ever.
I'm gonna cry myself to sleep.
Yeah, but this is definitely. I think Respawn are going to deliver, considering what they do with Titanfall. I know Apex Legends right now has a bit of a mixed bag, but that's completely different. But yeah, I think Mandalorian game gonna be great.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I am excited for it. I mean, rant aside, and you can fight me in the comments all you like. I'm right on this. No, I am very excited by that. That's really cool. I like the idea that you are going to have all of the gadgets and stuff, because it's not just a guy with a gun.
Yeah.
They have lots of different weapons in their arsenal. The armor is a part of them. I love that. I think that's cool. I'm really excited to see how that develops and what comes out of that. I hope it comes soon, because I need another Star Wars story game in my life.
I almost hope that they do the HUD like you're actually seeing yourself through the visor.
Oh, yes. I mean, that would cut off a lot. But it would be nice.
It would cut off a lot, but maybe they can have an option where it's full screen HUD and visor HUD. So the player can choose if you want to.
Well, I was going to say, even if it's just that you have the T as sort of clear, effectively,
yeah,
and then the rest of it is just a look like quite translucent. Is that the word?
Yeah. I can imagine them going almost a little bit like how basically Iron Man's augmented sort of how he has his stuff displayed on screen. I can imagine them doing something similar to that, but obviously a bit more Mandalorian, with the fact that they've said about tagging enemies and bounties with a visor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see how they do that. I'd like to see stuff overlaid to make it feel... If it's going to be first person, I want it to feel like I'm in the suit.
Yeah, I mean...
So yeah, stuff overlaid on the screen would be quite cool.
What's also interesting is a UI designer, which is a user interface designer. So for those people that don't know, they design things like your game HUD or an app or whatever. And that's something of design that I've been quite interested in for a few years now. I follow somebody on Twitter, and a few months ago, someone made a mock-up of a Mandalorian game UI, which was really cool to see. It looks really good and really polished. Obviously, this was actually a personal project that someone did, but it was really cool to see.
Yeah.
I'll try and have to fish it out somewhere, because it's somewhere, but I'll have to dig it out because it's very cool. And if you're watching on YouTube, if I have brought it out, I will put it on screen for you because it does look very, very cool. Very cool.
Okay. Well, I think that's all of the Star Wars talk. Tom, you want to talk about early access games?
Yes. So, I'm going to ask you a question, Joe.
Oh dear.
What full release games do you think should have been an early access title? Now, before you answer, while you have a little think, I'm going to read out what Steam has as their rules for an early access game. So, a Steam early access game enables you to sell your game on Steam while it is still being developed and provides context for customers that a product should be considered unfinished. Early access is a place for games that are in a playable alpha or beta state, are worth the current value of the playable build, and that you plan to continue to develop for release. Releasing a game in early access helps set context for prospective customers and provides them with information about the plans and goals before a final release. Early access is not a way to crowdfund development of your product, and it is not a pre-purchase. Does any game to you come to light?
No. I don't. To be fair, I don't think I've actually bought a lot of new games recently. So it's hard for me to say, or to think of something that I think should have been early access and feels like it released unfinished. Because I've not really played enough to have that issue. But I know there are games that have come out and people have been quite disappointed with.
Yes. So I'm going to talk about two of these that I feel.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about Payday 3. I'm going to talk about Forza Motorsport. And I'm going to give an honourable mention to City Skylines 2.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why we're kind of talking about this topic. What caused me to think, why discuss this today on the podcast? As some of you know, I do content creation over on YouTube, and I cover things like the game information, including patch notes, because who doesn't want to go through and read patch notes? I make it easier for you. I'll make a video version of it. Isn't that cool? So I was going through Forza's latest patch notes, which adds the infamous Nordschleife, the big one. And I looked through the amount of actual bug fixes they did. And in the latest, they did 83 bug fixes. This is an update 5. Do you know how many bug fixes they've been doing since update 1? Over 200.
Oh my god.
It made me think that, yes, the first update was roughly 30 bug fixes. I'd say, do you know what? As a first patch, that's okay. Right? Because bugs will represent. Yeah, and I also understand that some bugs that you fix that you push through an update will sometimes break other stuff and cause that chain reaction.
Yeah,
but I still think... I just thought to myself... That's ridiculous.
Just want to tag on to that.
Yeah, go on.
There is an argument to be made as well that you're not going to catch everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you can have a QA department who will sit there and play through again and again and again and again and again and again to try and replicate bugs and to see if anything's going to appear. But arguably, they're only going to find so much. Releasing it to public who will talk about when they find issues, you have a much bigger sample pool there to find the issue. So I can see some argument there to say that, you know, some things will get through, but reacting to that and going, yeah, okay, we'll fix that. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah,
so me just looking through the list of bugs for Forza Motorsport, let me just put in my head, I thought, why are there so many still? What's going on at turn 10 where the fact that they're still having to go through loads? I think it might be to do with the fact that they don't do quick hot fixes. They leave all the bugs to the big update that they do once a month, which I think is a little bit of a mistake. I think as long as it's fixed and you've done the entire process of a QA thing and it's been properly tested and it's ready, whack it out.
So
the last update was 8 gigs, for example. I mean, that includes all the content that you bring in, but still.
Yeah, but that goes back to the definition of early access. That feels like an early access game.
Yes.
Because rather than doing hot fixes to fix bugs, you're going, okay, we'll fix these. We'll put that fix in with the new content. That'll be the new build that you guys can, in an early access game, you guys can test for us.
Yeah.
It feels like you're testing an unfinished game because they're putting content in with the bug fixes.
Yeah.
Rather than reacting to the bug fixes as they come up.
Yeah. Obviously I'm going to go into more detail about Forza Motorsport because I do want to talk about Payday 3 first.
Yeah.
Payday 3 originally wasn't going to be on this list. Payday 3 has just come on this list of, I feel that early access is warranted. Not in an incredibly negative way, because I like Payday 3, but in the way that the fact that they're changing so many systems based on community feedback. So I think that Payday 3 definitely was needing to be put into Steam Early Access because of this factor of they're developing feedback and they're having to change systems because of this. Like, completely overhaul systems, which I think is definitely warrants in that early access sort of thing that I read out earlier. Because that does feel like it's unfinished or untweaked because of that community feedback. Payday 3 devs, Starbreeze, they've been quiet for the last month. We haven't heard anything. We haven't had an update in probably a couple of months now. Since last year, we haven't had an update. They came out with Operation Medic Back, which, as you can probably guess, is them trying to fix everything, which is a good play on the game, essentially. Because a Medic Bag is something, obviously, is one of the gadgets you deploy. Very, very famous in the Payday. So this is their sort of summary. They grabbed community feedback and they're gonna work on progression, new content, UI revamp, stability, matchmaking and server browser, solo and offline modes, and they also have a list of goals that they'd like to finish by summer 2024. There's quite a few things here, so I'm gonna go through them. Quick play V1, loadout renaming, recurring small content drops, control improvements, vote kick, rotating stealth modifiers, unready button, play again feature, merge players into party post match, daily activities rewards, mass vendor with weekly rotating inventory, communication improvements V1. I'm not going to go into the detail of what they're doing with them. Obviously, I've made my own video on my channel for that and isn't really for the podcast. But I wanted to kind of give everyone a perspective of what they're planning to do in this Operation Medic Bag.
Just on the face of it, a lot of those seem like things that should have been in the game at launch.
Yes, there is a lot of things that haven't been brought over from Payday 2 that should have been, which has been probably the main complaint between people on the community, and it's the reason why it just made me think, as soon as they put that in, as soon as they made that graphic and told on the social media of saying, yes, this is what we're planning to do, I thought to myself, this now seems like it should have been early access because it seems unfinished and they're still gathering community feedback, which is exactly what kind of Steam kind of say with an early access title. Payday 3 should have been early access because they're revamping so many things, they're having to change stuff, they're changing progression, they're including a solo and offline mode, which we had in Payday 2, got removed for Payday 3, and all these stuff just missing. Core features missing. You know?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
I think it's important to mention here as well. We're not saying that developers shouldn't go and update things and change things based on community feedback.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because there are times where you know, they put out a game, they go, this is what we've done, and the community goes, oh, I don't like that. Yeah. That doesn't work. That should have been like this from the start. And a lot of developers will listen to that, and at some point during the life cycle of the game will go, okay, yeah, we heard you. We've updated it. Here's the update. It's now the way that you've said that you would prefer it. And do you know what? We missed that. but that's a good suggestion. So we've changed it.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's great. We like developers listening and responding to feedback. But, I mean, Tom went through the list of things there for Payday 3. Maybe not all of those. Maybe some of those are things that they should, and rightly so, would react to and add in.
Yeah.
But some of those, or maybe even a lot of those, should have been in the game from release. You know, things as simple as a vote kick button. You know, an unready button. A play again feature. These are things that are in games from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Why are they not in a brand new release in... Did that come out last year?
September last year,
Yeah, so a game that came out the latter half of 2023. We know this by now. Developers should know this. And yeah, this is where I see your argument that it probably should have been early access, because yes, there are things that, as I say, it's nice for them to react to and add in and so on and so forth, and improve the game based on player feedback. But there are a lot of things in there that I think is fair to say you think of as a very basic feature.
Yeah, I think it's just that the whole volume of the amount of things that they're having to revamp or change significantly be based on community feedback. Obviously, I, regularly go on social media and have a look and see what people are talking about in the comment section when Payday, tweets and stuff. They're saying, why don't you have this, or whatever community discussion there is. And I think the most thing that I saw was probably the solo and offline mode, and some of the UI not making sense, and the way that the progression system worked, were probably the main things. But when they put them in a list like this, you actually realise there's a lot more than I thought there was, as just a general outside someone looking in to what the community wants, because they've obviously categorized everything and they've highlighted everything of what they want to work on. On one thing, it's great because some devs won't even go this far of saying, we'll work on all of this. They'll be a bit more stubborn and say, it's our game, we get to do what we want with it, you're just going to have to deal with it. But Starbreeze have said, we hear you, we're going to improve it for you. But this is the sheer volume just makes me think this should have been an early access because it warrants it. Yeah, you're right. The simple things aside, or the things that you would expect as a basic thing in a game now, you're right in the sense that is just an aside. The fact that there is so many things on the list, even the things on there that are like, well, okay, you react to that, becomes in itself a bit of a, well, why was this not in the first place? Yeah.
There's so much on that list. Why you reacted to it now? Why was this not covered? Because they would have had countless planning meetings up to release. The development cycle is there to test out these things and to play the game, and you get the feedback from your QA teams and your testers and go, oh, well, maybe we should add this in, or maybe that should have been covered. Why was all of this missed?
Yeah.
Why has no one mentioned this until now? The early access thing aside as well, it begs the question of what is going through developers' minds that they get to release and they haven't got even the basic features in.
Yeah.
It's I don't know about you, but for me that's quite concerning for the state of the industry.
It makes me think, obviously over the last probably 12 months, I've probably mentioned a few times, I've been playtesting this, it's under NDA, this and that for a couple of games. Mostly that's probably Ubisoft's sort of approach sometimes does that, where you get to playtest something and get to give your feedback. And I think that really works almost. I know it's Ubisoft we're talking about, they don't have the greatest reputation now, but I still think it's a better approach than what Payday and Forza, do. Because obviously Forza just releases, they have their own internal testing and that's it. Payday had a closed beta and an open beta, but a beta is really close to release, so there's going to be little to no time to change much, and the betas are really there to test server stability. But even then, the devs still underestimated the server issues. Obviously, that was a completely different thing because they didn't expect the amount of players on day one, hence why it crashed everything. A bit like Helldivers 2. But yeah, like, I wish there might have been an alpha test or an NDA test to say, yeah, and bring it out to the community. The community needs to play this game. And I think it's definitely, as of recent, needs to be more common with games, because clearly the devs do something new or do something to freshen up the gameplay, but it's not what the community wants. They don't like it. They don't find it fun, and therefore it backfires.
Yeah.
Just to quickly touch on the Forza stuff, for those that I'm going to briefly summarise what's kind of the problem with Forza, because obviously I've gone through Payday 3 stuff. First of all is car progression. Now, some of you might know, they're changing that in next update, in March is update. They hear the feedback, and the car leveling, the car PG element is being kind of nerfed again, essentially. The AI to me is horrendously bad. They claim they are building everything from the ground up, but we have car models from like Forza 4 still, so it's not all built from the ground up. And if you're aware of Daytona, yeah, they got the pit exit wrong as well. So, you know, not very realistic. Like, come on.
Yeah,
and then we have penalty system that's so bad that it introduces dirty drivers, and that means in multiplayer people don't want to play. And then we go to single player where the career mode isn't great. I just want to feel like a driver in a driving team, not these playlists of racing races. So yeah, it's not very enticing. And then obviously we've got PC performance. I saw someone's comment saying it runs fine on my Xbox Series X, but why is it running so badly on my PC, which has even better specs? Like, what? How does that make sense?
That begs a question about optimization.
It hardly runs on I usually can run everything on Ultra. I have to turn off ray tracing, anything to do with ray tracing, and I have to whack it down to at least high settings for me to get some sort of stable FPS. Otherwise it just dips down to like 30, 35. You know, like, so lots of those systems, as you can see, similar to Payday. It just makes me think, why wasn't this early access? Because it absolutely should have been. They worked 6 years on Forza Motorsport, and it's not been great whatsoever.
Yeah. I know I've kind of already said it, but it does make you wonder what's going on with the industry when things like this get missed. Yeah, I understand they got to try and innovate, but...
And these are mainly sequels we're talking about as well.
Yeah.
Which is, problematic, because you wouldn't expect them to go early access, but, you know, some people might see early access as a downside, as a sort of plea to get money, but it's also an opportunity to get community feedback, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Let's move on to our final topic of tonight. And I'm aware that this might become ranty as well, but I'm going to try not to be ranty. It's the recently announced Disney and Epic Games collaboration. I've pulled it up on my phone just so I can look at the tweet again. And it's just closed, so I'll reopen it. So
Yes.
I saw it posted on the Star Wars account on Twitter, or X. This was posted on the 7th of February, and they said that the Walt Disney Company and Epic Games are collaborating on an all-new games and entertainment universe featuring characters and stories from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar, and more. Now, I've not seen any further news on it since that. I don't know if you have.
No, I know a few articles have kind of put some information about it. it's going to be a persistent universe. It's going to be within Fortnite. Disney will invest $1.5 billion to acquire an equity stake in Epic Games alongside the multi-year project. So this is something that's going to be on several years. And they've described it as opportunities for consumers to play, watch, shop, and engage with content, characters, and stories from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar, and more. Players, gamers, and fans will be able to create their own stories and experiences, express their fandom in a distinctly Disney way, and share content with each other in ways that they love. This will all be powered by Unreal Engine. Now, on its surface, that's pretty cool. But I'm one of the people that doesn't really like Fortnite. I'm not a fan. So it doesn't bring me in that way. And I don't like Fortnite being used as a platform. If it was a separate entity, I would be more up for it. But because it's part of something else, I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm sorry, watchers and listeners. I absolutely detest Fortnite. I tried it. I cannot bring myself to like it. I don't like the art style. I don't like the gameplay. I don't like the concept. It grinds my gears. I can't explain to you why, but I detest it. So yeah, the idea that they're bringing all of this together, these Disney properties, let's say, it just, why? Who wants it? Who really wants this? Well, that was at least my reaction. I'm sure there's people out there that do want this. I'm sure that there's people out there that
absolutely.
You know what? This sounds like fun. But to me, I'm just like, don't ruin these things, please. Don't do it.
I get the development from Fortnite being a game and then developing it into a platform, but it just seems, to me, Fortnite is always going to be a game, not a platform, but they're trying to turn it into a platform.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sit well with me, particularly when Star Wars is involved. I'm thinking, why are you investing in this when you could invest in more and better Star Wars games?
Well, I did think about this, or I tried to think about this from a business perspective. Because obviously we know that Disney, in terms of its film and television production, has been buying up a lot of studios. Obviously, they first bought Marvel, then they bought Lucasfilm, so they got access to all the Star Wars stuff. They've bought Fox. I think it was Fox's film division. And the same with Sony Motion Pictures. So they've bought all these IPs, these studios, and obviously got ownership of the IPs that they controlled, which obviously we've seen in terms of things that they've put out over recent years. And I mean, certainly from the Marvel perspective is why they're doing the whole multiverse thing now, because they can bring in the IPs that Marvel, the comics company, had previously sold on to other companies like Fox.
Prime example of that is the recently revealed Deadpool and Wolverine trailer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Spider-Man was one of them as well. But it's the fact that they're bringing it all together. They've obviously been buying up IPs and they're trying to control things. I do see this as a bit of an extension of that. You know, as you say, they're putting $1.5 billion to acquire an equity stake in Epic Games. They're clearly trying to bring that into the fold of their sort of media empire. And that's cool. I can understand that. It's a very smart business move. Or it certainly seems like a smart business move. I mean, Epic Games, regardless of how we feel about them, they are clearly a very successful company. And they have been doing quite well over the last few years as well.
Yeah.
So it makes sense from a business sense, certainly. But I just, I guess...
From a gamer point of view.
Yeah, the fangirl in me looks at it and goes, oh, no, don't do it. I shudder. But yeah, I guess it depends on your perspective. It depends on your relationship with Epic Games as well.
Yeah, I suppose.
I guess your relationship with Disney, because not everyone's going to have a
Yeah,
positive opinion.
I suppose
of Disney.
if you're quite into Fortnite and you like it and all that, then you'll be quite
This might be really exciting.
hyped about this. Yeah, and I get that. But also remember what they did with that Lego building game that they released in Rocket Racing. You had to essentially download Fortnite to get into that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they unveiled at the Game Awards last year about a Rocket Racing game. Obviously, I'm sure you heard that you can now build games within sort of the Fortnite engine, per se. Obviously, Unreal Engine, but
yeah.
you can do it within Fortnite. So they've made Rocket Racing and this Lego sort of building, Lego Minecraft sort of vibe. Sort of game where you build and craft and stuff like that, and a bit of survival in that. But it's not a separate entity, it's part of Fortnite, so you've got to download Fortnite to then get access to that. I don't like it when games put games within games. To me, they should have been a separate, because they're completely different things to me. The CEO of Disney said a couple of things as well. He said that our exciting new relationship with Epic Games will bring together Disney's beloved brands and franchises with the hugely popular Fortnite in a transformational new games and entertainment universe. This marks Disney's biggest entry ever into the world of games and offers significant opportunities for growth and expansion. We can't wait for fans to experience the Disney stories and worlds they love in groundbreaking new ways. And then Tim Sweeney, which was the Epic Games CEO, said Disney was one of the first companies to believe in the potential of bringing their worlds together with ours in Fortnite, and they used Unreal Engine across their portfolio. Unreal Engine's great. It's great. I've used it myself to try and learn some level development. It's pretty good. But that last comment that Tim Sweeney said, Disney was one of the first companies to believe in the potential of bringing their worlds together with ours in Fortnite, and almost indicating about believing in gaming. There's something that contradicts this. Disney shut down LucasArts in 2013 in the $4 billion acquisition with 150 layoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to add up, does it?
No. And the quote from 2013 was, "We've decided to shift LucasArts from an internal development to a licensing model, minimizing the company's risk while achieving a broader portfolio of quality Star Wars games." And obviously that licensing model, as we know, did go to EA, and now it's open again.
Yeah, now, I do have to say, it's obviously been 10, nearly 11 years since they made that announcement.
Yeah.
It could well be that in that decade, they've gone, do you know what, we made a bit of a mistake here.
Yeah. Yeah, I have
you know
a feeling.
What? We probably could have made a bit more money off this.
I feel that Disney back then were one of the sort of people that you come across that just hates gaming and says, get a real hobby, and why are you wasting your life away? But they themselves are watching TV and film at the exact same time as their sort of hobby. That's the vibe I got from that sort of thing back then, which I still think is still sort of relevant today, but less so. Gaming is a lot more acceptable today than it was maybe 10 years ago.
I don't know necessarily, because there's plenty of Disney games out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have things like Kingdom Hearts, which was massive, that utilised many Disney IPs throughout its storytelling. So I don't think necessarily that Disney doesn't believe in games, or certainly this is my perspective anyway.
Yeah.
But I do think that they've maybe come to realise just how much money they could have made by continuing to make films under these newer IPs.
For a long time, games has made so much more money than the film and TV industry put together.
Yeah, it's a more interactive industry, and there's a lot of replayability. You can only watch a film so many times. Once you've bought it, you've got it. But games obviously keep generating money, or they can keep generating money.
Yeah.
And certainly the way that things are going now. Like I say, I think it's a bit of a shift in attitude. I don't know if it's necessarily the right way for them to go, but then I appreciate that opinion is coloured by my own opinions on Fortnite and Epic Games.
Yeah.
I realise that my opinion is not going to be the same for everyone, and you guys are totally welcome to disagree with me on that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't hold much hope for this. And again, this is not a Star Wars specific thing, obviously. I know we obviously talked about it from the Star Wars perspective a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There are other IPs involved here, as we said. Pixar, Marvel, Avatar, they were all included in this announcement. They were included in the trailer as well. You know, I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan of Fortnite. And the fact that they're saying it's going to be built within the Fortnite engine, in air quotes, yeah, it puts me off. It actually puts me off. I hope that they don't put a lot of focus into this, because then I'm worried that we would then lose it on other areas or other developers doing other games.
The popular sort of comment that I keep seeing, particularly under that tweet, was, no one asked for this. Where's Star Wars Battlefront 3?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few comments like that. That's my concern. Regardless of my feelings about Epic and Fortnite, my concern is it will draw away from more mainline games. For want of a better term. I just, and again, that's across all of those IPs. You know, I love a Star Wars game. I'm loving the new Avatar game. I like Pixar, so to see some Pixar games would be quite cool.
Yeah.
You know, but the idea that we're going to lose out on those, that's the idea that we potentially could lose out on those. Correct myself there. That's a little bit worrying to me. I don't know if you're in the same boat as me.
Yeah, definitely the same. Because I'm just thinking that money could be spent on potentially doing stuff with other studios, collaborations with other studios for, you know, Marvel games, not just Star Wars stuff. Because we can all dream of all the Star Wars stuff that we can want, but think of all the other Pixar and all the Disney stuff that other studios could bring, you know, considering the success. I mean, I get it, because look how Fortnite's success is. It's massive. So they're trying to capitalise on it, which is, you know, fine, but probably not something that we would invest in at all.
Yeah, I guess that is the difference, is ultimately Disney, at the end of the day, is still a business.
Yeah.
They've got to make money. They've got, you know, the bottom line is that they want to make a profit. And the more profit they make, the better their pay packet is when they go home at the end of the day. So I get that. From a business sense, yeah, it's a really, it seems like a really smart move. And from a business sense, I hope it does work out for them. But as a gamer who loves some of these IPs, I really hope it falls through. So we go back to the things that personally I think would be better. It's not to say that I'm right. This is the thing. This is all opinion. And I totally understand and appreciate that people will disagree with my opinion. In fact, I anticipate there might even be some angry comments at some of my opinions. And that's fine. Do you know what? You're welcome to disagree with me. This is the whole point. We can all have different opinions and we can all disagree on it. That's totally fine. But personally, I don't like it. I don't think my opinion on that's going to change. Okay, well, look, little bit ranty, I guess. We'll call that 3 rants this podcast. It's a hat trick. We're going to say thank you, guys. Thank you for coming and joining us for this podcast. If you haven't already, please do make sure you go and check out our previous podcasts as well, and obviously give us a little subscription or a follow or whatever you can do on whatever platform you're listening or watching us on. just so you get notifications when we put up our next one next month. Our next podcast, of course, is going to be on the 27th of March. Please do come and check that out as well. We appreciate all of your support. As already said, give us a follow, give us a rating, give us some kind of review. Like it if you're watching it on YouTube. Give us some kind of interaction. It all helps the algorithm, helps us get seen by more people, and then I won't have to bug you about this every single time. If you want to stay up to date with the podcast, I would encourage you to follow our socials as well. We can both be found on Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. We're going to put links down below for all of those. But if you do want to search us up, Tom is under the name of Maverick RNG, and you can find me under FamilarForce. These are our... Oh, go on.
Yeah, talking of socials, we now have an Instagram and a YouTube dedicated to Fandom's Edge.
We do.
So that's now a thing. They will now be on all the new links in the description now. So,
yes, that is a very recent addition, and I had forgotten to mention those.
Yes, it just popped into my head then. I thought I'll just sneak that in, and you might even see some clips on Instagram and YouTube from us talking about various points from the podcast, which will link back to the big main one that you can watch in full.
Definitely go and give us a follow on Instagram. Go and blow up those posts on there, because Tom has been very studiously going and clipping some interesting parts from the podcast. And again, that's going to help us out reaching a wider audience. So your appreciate is massively supported. Well, look, we've rambled on for long enough. I've ranted for long enough. So we're going to love you and leave you. We'll see you next time
on the Fandom's Edge.